Hey everyone, welcome. Drop in the chat where you're from. It's great to have you here.
I feel like we always ask that, but I'm genuinely curious to always know where people are from, like where they're joining us from. It's fun when we have people from like different countries, like overseas. That's always cool.
We're also getting our regulars. It's been great to see a few people that are here every Wednesday.
I bet you Richie Laser's here. Richie, are you here? He's here every Wednesday.
And now that you've said
Sadra.
that, maybe he's not here.
Oh, it's Sadra. That's a cool name. Sadra. Ooh, I love that.
Richie, there we go.
Richie, I knew it. He's here every single week. I love that.
Not only is he here every week, he's out there telling everyone about us, which is
I
awesome.
know.
Hi,
It's the
Mary.
best. Hi, Mary. All right. Well, let's get started because it is 12:01 and people will come in and that's okay. But my name is Via Williams and I am with my lovely co-host Sarita Dua, who can say her own name. I don't know why I introduced you. You can introduce yourself.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Sarita Dua from Portland, Oregon.
I got bossy for a minute. We are here every Wednesday at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. So you can do math. You don't have to do math in your head. We'll save you from that. And we are really here to train real estate teams and real estate agents, right, on tactics and best practices. And our goal is that you literally walk out of every single one of these webinars with something implementable within an hour. And I'm super excited today to have our guest, Sarah Tadlock. And I think Sarita is going to kind of tee that up and start us off. But this is one of those webinars where this is here absolutely by your demand. Like Sarah's phone is blowing up. Our phones are blowing up about Sarah. Everybody wants to know how Sarah is recruiting teams to her team. So I am so excited. I'm probably going to take more notes than anyone here that's watching. So
Perfect. That's
Sarita,
great.
your tee up.
Baton pass to me. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited, as we said, we both are, to have this next guest, Sarah Tadlock. And before I jump right into Sarah, I do want you to know that this is a forum for you guys. Like you said, this topic is by demand. And so please participate, drop questions in the chat, take good notes. If there's enough interest, we'll probably have follow-ons to this. So this is your session. And as Via mentioned, our goal is to have you guys walk away with, it doesn't have to be a zillion, 1, 2, 3, a handful of nuggets or takeaways that you can apply to your business today. And with that, I'm honored to introduce our guest, Sarah Tadlock from St. Louis, Missouri. Sarah runs the Place St. Louis team. She and her partner, and she'll go right into it here in a minute, have an amazing business, and they've been very successful doing kind of this grill that we're all sort of seeking, which is how do we grow a business where we attract others to our business, where they can have an amazing business inside of ours, right? That there's enough growth for everyone in terms of growth, profitability, leverage, balance, lifestyle, all of it. And we're going to talk about how Sarah does this and sort of some of the key inflection points in her career that made her create this model that she has that's really working, that she's going to share with us. So with that, welcome, Sarah.
Thank you for having me, ladies. I am really excited to do a deep dive today into our business.
Well, let's just jump in right at the beginning. How did you get started in real estate? Go back kind of to the beginning, what you were doing before real estate and how you first joined real estate in a team.
Yeah, I started in real estate. I was very young. I moved to St. Louis to actually study architecture. So creating spaces and visualizing things before they happened. And at the age of 20 years old, I was working for a firm. I had graduated with my master's or my bachelor's. And I quickly realized that behind a computer screen is not where I belonged, and got launched into real estate and really unlocked the potential that I had as a young person to earn when someone showed me how you can put effort out there and you're paid your worth by what you decide versus someone else. I really took it and ran with it. And so that's how I got started. I was on a team as a buyer's agent. This is back when teams weren't really a huge concept in a market that was very specific into the downtown real estate community, and cut my teeth doing developer product, which again, back then was also not very common for realtors. So that is how I launched my career, and that's how most people knew me 10 years ago.
Great. So one couple things I want to just emphasize. 20 years old, she got her bachelor's degree. She knew what she wanted, which she thought it was architecture. And then she realized pretty quickly that she wanted to be in front of people, right? And so you did the thing, right? You were a pioneer in that teams weren't as popular, or they were just getting started. And you learned the ropes by working with buyers on a team and working with developers. That could have probably gone on for a while. What were some of the key changes that kind of made you rethink the way you were approaching your business?
Yeah, I remember my first turning point, and that was when the market ended up crashing, and it was kind of coinciding with my time being maxed out. So we were really pigeonholed into one market. And so I had to diversify. And as we were coming out of that market crash, I realized I was able to take a step back and reflect. And reflection, I think, is one of our greatest tools that is underutilized. And when I did that, and I shared this on a podcast a few weeks ago, but we compare our insides to other people's outsides. And this is very common in our business because what is glorified is units and production and volume. And you can look at someone's business and that is the ego piece, right? In our business. What is astonishing to me is that most people, 95% of our industry, doesn't operate as a business owner. They do not know their profit. And so I think that one of where it shifted for me is when I realized that I didn't have a profitable business. I had a very high-paying job that I was working 90 plus hours a week. My health was the worst it had ever been. And I really didn't have time for what was most important, friends and family, and myself. And so I knew something had to shift because I was unwilling to continue down this path of being a high-paid job as a solo producer.
Sarah, you're so right. I just wanted to edify that because what we see are people's top lines. We don't see their bottom lines. And I don't just mean bottom line in finances. Like I love what you said about health and happiness and wealth. But I do think it would be helpful that all said, I'm about to contradict myself, but that all said, I think it would be helpful to paint a picture for everybody of like what your team does look like, and give us an idea of unit flow, volume, GCI or whatever, and maybe how that's kind of, what the last maybe 5 years has looked like, understanding that everything you said is correct, right? That it is what we don't see that's also important.
Yeah, and I'm happy to share, where we are and jump ahead. Our business looks very different today as I started to build leverage and starting on that journey. But currently our team is built. We have 25 team members. We have 10 seasoned agents. I look at a seasoned agent as someone that is proven talent that's been in the business over 2 years. We also have 5 new agents. We just built a new agent growth track after joining Place. This was a piece of our business that I didn't have dialed in prior to. And then we also have 3 legacy partners, which is a concept that if we have time at the end of the call, I'll go into a little bit more detail, but it's essentially a platform where we give agents that are looking to retire a way to be able to build referral income for life. And so we bring their databases in. So in addition to, we have 6 very strong operations team members that are, half of them are local, half of them are VAs and outside of St. Louis. Did I answer all your questions or did I miss one?
Yeah. Well, how many homes are you selling in an average year?
So we're trending right now in a 12-month calendar year around 275 to 300 units. As you know, and that really factors into our per agent productivity. So our average seasoned agent that has been with us over a year is selling 32 homes.
Wow.
We have agents that, you know, are brand new. Our goal is to get them to a trending of 2 units per month. So 24 in a calendar year. And we have sub operators, right? Our teams within a team that are doing over 100 units. So we're really building these tracks. Talent wants clear growth plan. And that's what we're going to dive into today. You have to give them the ability to be able to grow in your world as big or as small, right? Everyone doesn't have to grow there, but you can't restrict them. As soon as they feel that friction and restriction, that's when they start to leave. And that's what ended up happening to us, which is how we arrived where we're at
that
today.
said, I'm so glad that you kind of gave us today's visual, because now going back to what you were talking about, right? You know, where were you when you kind of hit this wall of what you were you just led into it, right? You were just talking about it, where,
Yeah.
you know, the pain and, you know, what did your team look like then? And, you know, move us into how we got to talking to you today.
Yeah, that's a great place to start. So, you know, the journey started with me as an operator. Some people call them rainmakers, where we're doing the lion's share of the production. And you hit this point where you physically cannot work any harder, right? And so you have to start thinking, and how am I going to work smarter? And that's as you start to build leverage. We ended up I built it for myself. And as we were growing, we were taking advice from people and implementing. And I stopped and I looked back. And as I started to build leverage for myself and my business partner, John Brueggemann, we realized that we weren't building it for the people in our world didn't have the same type of leverage that we had, right? Mm-hmm. When they were leaving and when they went on vacation with their families, they were still connected. They didn't have the ability to disconnect and to turn it off. And so that was our second turning point when we started to think about it differently. But I'll share our biggest failure. And I think a lot of people on this call can probably relate. And this is why and how the team within a team concept came about. So we are great with getting people into production. You get in, you grow people to 30, 40, 45 units. That's really that first glass ceiling, if you will, for someone in a team. And we didn't have the next step mapped out. I couldn't tell that person. And this was our very first agent that joined us. She was with us for almost 6 years. And she hit a point where she felt restricted. She didn't know the next step of how to grow. She couldn't see where she was going with us. So the only option, and where I failed her, was to provide her that growth plan. And so she left, and rightfully so. And so I think a lot of the times we just expect people to leave in our industry, right? well, they'll never stay, right? They'll get to a certain
Right.
point. Teams are looked at as stepping stones. But I believe if you have a clear growth plan and your world is big enough, that you shouldn't have to lose talent that you're in alignment with. And that is where the concept of how to build, how to retain someone like this and grow with them.
I love that. So you experienced pain where you didn't have a path for that person who left, and you kind of zigged when everyone zagged. Instead of accepting the sort of narrative that everyone says that an average agent might join a team for 2 to 3 years and then move on, instead of saying why should they stay, you said why wouldn't they? Why not? Right? And you built out a model or concept where you can have a team join your team and have so many benefits and growth opportunities that they wouldn't want to leave. So let's talk about that concept, that team within the team concept. So that agent left, you kind of had that aha. How did that concept sort of shake out, and sort of walk us through the evolution of what it is today?
Yeah, and that's a great next step. So really that was specifically what led me to look up and be curious. It was the first time in building a team that I had to ask myself, like, is there a better way? I hadn't found it, but I hadn't spent the time figuring out if there was a solution. And so that's really what led us specifically to our next partnership, which was Place. But I want to pause just really quick because I think that it's important for us to understand the avatar for this team within a team. Is that okay if I just walk?
I love that. In fact, yeah, please get specific on that because that's really
Awesome.
important.
Because this model isn't for everyone, right? Everyone doesn't want to grow 100, 200, 300 person or 300 unit business. But for certain avatars, it does work. And so I had to get clear on who was, who am I looking to attract? Because it's different challenges, right? It's different conversations. So there's really 2 avatars that I specifically am focused on as we are scaling our team. The first I call a high producing solo agent. All right. This person is between 30 units is usually where I start to see someone start to hit a capacity. Now, there's some people, and I'm finding them, that have a very high capacity where they're able to hold 50, 60, the max I've ever seen is 70 units all on them. And this person usually has a admin that is emerging talent, not proven, or it's contract labor, right? They've outsourced, someone's like pushing paperwork, managing the transactions. So, but on average, they're right around 30. Okay. So this person is at their max of physical hours worked. That's the first. The second is a small team. All right. This person has hit that, they started seeing some success. They got excited or, open to starting to build. And they usually go out and hire emerging talent, like we talked about, because this is all their business can afford. So this is someone that's in a $30,000 to $50,000 admin role, where this person is everything to this top producer. So the solo agent is everything to the client. And then now they've hired someone in the same restrictive model where they're not maximizing this person's talents. They have to hire someone that's good at everything, right? Which is impossible, but we'll dissect that. So when they hire talent, they it costs money. Talent costs money. And so they go out, they hire talent. Then in order to pay for this talent, they have to come and they typically hire a buyer's agent or another producer. And they bring that producer in with no systems, no models, no proven growth strategy. And so that person comes in, welcome to the mess. And they come in and they're now trying to organically grow this person. The problem is that they haven't figured out the recipe of how to duplicate themselves. So typically, and it's like a revolving door. They bring talent in, they stay for 6 to 18 months, and the talent leaves. And then they have to do it all over again because now they're trying to figure out how to scale it. And so they're now spending less time on personal production. So now they have less personal production because they're trying to mentor other people. These people are not reaching their maximum potential because they don't have a proven strategy, and they're adding expenses. So what happens? A large percentage of the time is that profitability actually takes a step backwards, but they don't know it because they're not tracking it. So they have an artificial sense of security and they're artificially winning because everyone else is seeing their numbers grow. Can anyone relate to this story?
Pearl, I am like
We feel like the hallelujahs.
I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. So this is the pain point. We were there. I know we were this team. And when we just hit our threshold at 150 units, and then we scaled it to 250. We hit our next plateau. And for 2 years, we got stuck. And when talent doesn't like to be stuck. So what do? We go and find solutions. And so I'm going to share with you the best piece of advice I have ever been given as an entrepreneur is this. You only take advice from people that you would trade lives with. You would trade a business with, you would trade a life with, because if not, everyone wants to give you advice to succeed, right? They want to come in and protect you, but they can only advise you from where they are. And
that is gold, Sarah.
And I wish I could claim it. It's one of my mentors that it literally, this changed my life because it set me on a new trajectory to build a business that I am proud of, that I would want to duplicate. And now I can bring people that match our values into our world and fix what I built the hard way. We're now able to take them and build and scale them within our business. That again, our systems are good, but we're working to make them great because now I can pay people their worth because we have a bigger shared platform, more units. So now my top talent, they're not relying on me to guide them. They're connected to much higher talent that now everybody's in a strength zone, and we can scale it. And so I'll stop right there before we dive into the nitty gritty of how a team within a team is structured, to see if you guys, if there's anything I missed or if there's any questions I'm missing in the chat.
No, I say keep going.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you teed it up perfectly that now we get to the how, right?
So you know the why, we know, like we can all relate to these avatars. Like we were these avatars and we've solved the solution for us. So let's now go do it for someone else. So here is the structure of it. So in a business, you have two main drivers of growth. And what do they say? Whenever you feel friction, you're either missing a person or you're missing a system or both. Most of the time it's both. So The systems are your operations. Okay. So the operations is what takes time. You have to learn how to hire talent. You have to learn how to run a business, how to run P&Ls, how to run a profitable business, and then grow your systems, right? This is building out everything that helps make things run smoothly. The second is production, right? And that comes through your personal production, talent, building leverage. And so what we built was the ability to be able to take someone, and when they hit a level, for us, this is between 50 and 100 units. So I'll give you our first example. This was a woman, Erica Timko. I knew this was our right partner because she was growth minded. She thought big. And she's welcome she's very open to giving feedback, and she thinks operationally, but she has a super high capacity. So she was producing around 80 units on her own, or 80 to 90. So we brought her in our world, and we took off all of the management of operations. Now, this is what bottlenecks most top producers, right? Is figuring out how to implement this all. So now she's plugging in our operations, where we're freeing up her time to do dollar productive activities. So she is now she's able to produce at a higher level. She's able to attract talent that we then come and help her. We help her hire and train and retain. And we're running the business almost like a franchise systems operations for her team. It's her own, our hub team is Tadlock Brueggemann. Tadlock Brueggemann is not on anything that is going out to any of her database. And this is where most people can't figure it out. It's the same thing. We're one team operating through multiple brands. So we build one newsletter, we send it out in multiple different facets, right? But she's on her own profit and loss statement. And the biggest difference when we bring someone in is we start paying them like an agent. Okay. And what that means is let me back up. And get everyone back in the right mindset. What is the first thing a high producer thinks of when they think of joining a team?
Split.
Look in the chat. Split.
Oh, sorry, I answered. Yeah. I was so into it. I just answered.
Good. Yeah,
we're waiting for chat. Okay, sorry.
Right? No, that's good, Vija. I love it. Let's roll.
I'm like, you have me wrapped around your looking right now.
Split. And this is, I don't want to give up 50%, right? And so the problem is what they're thinking, if they even know it, is they think they're giving up 50% of top line GCI. They don't know how much it's actually costing to run their business. They're not paying themselves as a cost of sale. Mm-hmm. And so they believe they have a profitable business. And I've been doing this long enough that when I help them have a paradigm shift and actually break down what the value of their business is, it's not very much, because their expenses are usually heavier, right? So with that said, we have to, the value of our business is only worth what it is when we're not in it. So if we removed that high producer and we put all of that production in cost of sale, what would the value of that business actually be? And so our goal is to help them think like a business owner. That's my job. That's what I'm passionate about. I want to help people build highly leveraged, highly profitable businesses. And most people have very high paying jobs. And
So
so,
Sarah, I have a question for you
yeah,
because I think this is super important. And if you're going to answer it, you can tell me that. But do you run that? Do you show them that? Do you take their current P&L, which they probably doesn't even exist, but their current whatever it looks like, and do you say this is what you're actually making? And
yes, this
through that?
great question. Absolutely. I worked it in our recruiting process, and I built out. So in our recruiting process, we go through after we, go through their why and where their pain points are, what their 5-year vision is. Like, you have to know these things and where someone is going to understand if you want to go there with them. All right. So you have that. Then I built out an economic model of how to scale in our world, but not before. I don't walk into any numbers until I help them get a reality check of what the value of their business actually is. So I will ask them for 5 key numbers. Their last year production. So this is GCI, volume, average commission, and top line GCI. You'd be surprised how many people don't even know how much GCI they've brought in.
Well, most people here would be surprised. Vija is not surprised.
Vija is not, because you're a
But
number
you're right.
person.
Most people would be surprised.
That's why I love, one of the reasons why I love you. So once you've identified those numbers, what you need is their expenses. Now, very few people actually know what their expenses are. And most of the time, as I take it verbally, right? I'm writing these things down. I'll get it verbally, and then I will ask them for the Schedule C from last year's tax return. That is about the most accurate number. Those are the most accurate numbers that they have, and they don't even really look at it, which is just insane to me. So I will walk them through and break it down into, if you paid yourself a cost of sale, if you paid your expenses, this is the value of your business. And I will tell you, after you take 50% cost of sale out, most expenses for both of these avatars, the high producing solo producer, their expenses are usually running between 15 and 20%. A small team avatar, their expenses are usually running between 25, sometimes up to 40%. So these businesses, their profit is sitting between 10 and 30% on the high end. So when you think of this, this is what we're looking at sharing. So I'm not really interested in figuring out how to get 50% of an unprofitable business. Where our opportunity is together is to figure out, how can we grow this profit? How do we take off those expenses and we have them in a shared model so we can reduce them? Our sub-operator is running between 12 and 15%. That's incredible at a 120 unit business. Like, I don't know anyone running a 15% business that is building it the old way.
Well, and on top of it, they're not laying their head on their pillow at night worrying about paying payroll and, all of the things that they're probably not doing a great job with, right?
It's very volatile, right? It's a very unsafe feeling. And when we can provide talent a clear path for growth and health insurance and stock options and 401k and wealth building opportunities, this creates security and it creates safety. And that is what everyone is seeking. That's what I want. That's what I want for people in our world. And that's a recipe for success as we scale and move into the next phase of our industry.
And so, Sarah, when you say, 12 to 15%, I want to clarify that is their net, that is their take home. What you're saying is they're taking home 12 to 15% of their sub P&L gross income.
Yeah. So, a good rough example, let's say that producer was, and I'm going to get a calculator out. I should have had this example worked out. So let's say you have a solo producer that's bringing in 400,000 of GCI. All right. If they paid them, so they're thinking if they join a team, they're giving up 200,000. That's exactly what they're thinking. So if someone like that comes into any of our worlds, if they paid themselves a cost of sale, they're automatically earning 200,000 off the top. Okay. So the business's top line GCI is 200. So if you took 400,000 and let's just say on average, that business is running at 30% expense, which is very common. So 30% of 400,000 is 120. So 200,000 minus 120, the profit of their business after all of those expenses and the cost of sale is 80,000. In our world, over 100 units, we then would split that 50-50. $40,000 is not, well, and in our world, that would be less. And that's the breakdown of those splits and how we've done it. I'm happy to do it another day where we actually go through the economic model, but I'm helping them realize that they don't have profitable businesses. They have high paying jobs that they're tied to. So does that help break it down?
Yeah, let's keep it going. And I think that the economics are something we could revisit because they could be a rabbit hole. Let's keep going.
That's what I was thinking. Yep, absolutely.
Which I'm easily, by the way, strayed down. So I will refocus, but
that's okay. All right. Where would you like me to go from here? I know you.
I would like you to keep going through this recruiting process. And I actually wanted to go back a click because I was really getting into this. I'm like, wait, how does she get people to the table? So I'd like to go back to, how did you find Erica? Like, what does this conversation look like? You're identifying your avatars. What if you're not in relationship with them? How are you getting in relationship with them? What do those scripts sound like? What do those conversations sound like?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I will say this, that there is no way that any one of us on this call have built any level of success without nurturing relationships. And co-op agents are the very first focus that most people put. Our co-op agents are like an extension of us. We have to collaborate to get deals done. So, if you're at this point and you've built a business and you have operations built in your company, relationships are how you got here. And so why I say that is that's how I started, is if you just ask yourself right now, if you wrote down 3 names, and if you put on the top of that paper, who do I want to be in partnership with? Who do I want to grow with? There should be names at the top of that list. It may feel a little scary to put them down because the limiting mindset that most of us have is, why would someone as successful or have built a level of success, why would they need me? And I'm telling you, they are struggling with the same things that we've struggled with. And everything with the right partnership is easier. So granularly, on Wednesday, every Wednesday, I ask myself that question: who do I want to be in business with? And it's just one person a week. Okay. And it's miraculous. I just pick up the phone and I ask them, right? It's not that difficult. And I will tell you, when I started, it is very nerve-wracking when you've never done it before. And my goal is just to understand how they're doing, where their business is. And I typically set a one-on-one like lunch just to catch up. And these are people I'm in relationship with. Okay. These are people that know us. People are watching what we're doing. We just don't believe, we just aren't thinking about it. And so, I'm coming in and, the scripts, like I have organically built, I'm moving backwards and I'm building in scripts. So one of the ones that I just started using is, I don't know if this would be for you, but this is who I'm looking for. This is what we're doing. And I'm just simply starting to share what we are building. This is the avatar. This is the pain points, and this is the solution I've built. And so that's how I've grown the last, I would say, 6 key partnerships, is just picking up the phone, and every single one of them sat down with me, and it was easier than I thought.
Yeah, I like that. And it also, just I'm completely absorbed in this. And I think that for me, it would also just be, hey, because what I do it a lot locally. I will randomly call someone and say, hey, I've been watching you, I've been watching your business, I've been watching X, I've been watching Y. Love to treat you to lunch. And it's usually lunch. Sometimes it's coffee. For some reason, it's lunch. And get to know you. And they'll often ask me. Most of the time, I'll get a yes. Sometimes they'll ask me, like, are you trying to sell me or recruit me? And I have the same answer, and it's because it's a real answer. No. From time to time, I get intrigued with someone in the market, and I have always been blessed by that relationship, and I never know where it's going to go, and always go somewhere cool. And sometimes it's in a decade.
Yeah,
that's what I know.
Well,
and you can, and I love that.
Just like,
go ahead.
It's just like when you refer business for your real estate business, like, let me paint a picture of what my ideal referral looks like. If you paint that picture, people visualize it, and they literally will find a match for you.
Yeah.
I have a question though, Sarah, because you nailed it, right? Like, as the operator, why would this person want to be in my world, right? That's the question. Why would they want to partner with me? But as the agent, I want to know, like, where ego fits in, where, if you're this solo agent who's like, may not know they even have a problem. Like you said, they're not profitable, but they don't know it. And they're masking their success by carrying the lion's share of their own production.
Mm-hmm.
How do you, as the agent approaching you, get beyond the whole, why would I merge my team with them? And why would I give up my identity, right? Does that come up, or is it just really in the numbers and showing them the possibilities?
Yeah, that their branding is typically one of the greatest not restrictions, but it's the greatest objection.
Reservations.
Right? Greatest objection, which is why if they're coming in our world over 50 units, and definitely when they have someone that they're leading, right, their first hire that they're leading, they can have their own brand. I have zero tie to any brand. Our sub-operator is her own brand. Tadlock Brueggemann is not on anything. So, but until you get there, you have to have the ability to incubate, because you can't sustain off your own business when you're only 30 units. Those 30 units right now, in our lead generation pillars, sphere is one leg. And so if you view it like a stool, right now, all of their eggs are in one basket. So we have to teach them how to build additional lead generation legs. so that we can start helping them feel stable. And then we build it. And then at the right time, we can break them off, and where their business can actually sustain itself, and they're self-feeding not only themselves, but other producing agents. And when they can see that growth path, people work with them because of who they are, not because of their brand or their logo. Like, we know this in our business. So we need to make sure that they feel like they have an identity at every level, right? Because what we're focused on is helping build them as an entrepreneur and build them as their own business, so that at the right time, when their business has earned the right to be profitable on its own, we can actually do that.
Do you, Sarah, because this is a publicly facing webinar. And so, maybe we should explain to people what our place opportunity model looks like, because my next question is, do they graduate? Do they graduate into their own team eventually and leave the nest? Or is this design kind of to stay sort of white labeled under Tadlock Brueggemann?
Yeah. So this is the best part. They get to choose, right?
Yeah.
Erica came in, she actually qualified to be her own place operator. Okay. She was to the point, her business was big enough where she could have built it on her own. And don't get me wrong, like, what Place has built is there's nothing else out there like it. That is the opportunity model, is why we're here. It gave everyone in our world the ability to scale. And why most talent doesn't make a move is if they feel like they have to move backwards in order to move forward. No one wants to move backwards. That was our main hesitation when we started to look at this. And when we learned the opportunity model, and when we were curious, right? I had to stay in curiosity. When we learned the financials of it, no one that I know, including people in our world, have had to move backwards in order to move forwards. Now, there's a market shift. There's all kinds of things that are happening. And I'm going to put this caveat in there. As long as we're reinvesting our time in the dollar productive activities, you can't come in and buy back time and then not reinvest it in the right place. Lead me here, because I could literally go down a rabbit hole with our opportunity model. I'm sorry, I answered my own question. Your question was, will they eventually leave? So at 100 units, you have earned your right to break off and be your own team. All right. If someone incubates in our world and starts as a brand new agent, when they get into what we call a senior partner between 50 and 100 units, we break them off on their own profit and loss statement and have them starting, right? Our job is to educate them to be a business owner. So we're building this for them. And at 100 units, they can decide, do they want to go be their own operator? Here's what it would look like. But then they would have to go back and duplicate everything that we just built. Now, Place has a plan for that, and they could do that. But here's why it doesn't make sense, is because the profit is vastly different on their own. Okay, so they not only are taking more time in order to execute, which typically is less personal production, and the expenses are a lot higher. So I ran a pro forma model for if our sub operator was on her own as her own team in the same amount of time, taking into consideration that her personal production, I actually ran it the same, that with no reduction, which I know that there's no physical way that she could have done the same amount of production.
You gave her the benefit of the doubt.
Right. But let's give her the benefit of the doubt, because let me tell you, that woman has the highest capacity than any other female leader I've met. So her profit was a difference of around 30%. Okay. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what the is on the top. It matters what we take home to feed our families. And she's a numbers person. So, was it perfect when we started out? No, she helped us build this. Like, she is the reason why this exists, and we've figured it out. And now it's a proven model. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Thank you. This is so interesting. How many Ericas have you brought in? How many teams have you brought
Erica is the very first one. We are in the process of onboarding 2 new teams within a team. We're identifying when to roll those out. I will be honest. I was in the mindset, like, I knew conceptually this would work. And we just closed out her first full year of financials. And I wanted to see, I needed to know what it would be. Yeah. And as soon as literally we closed out that first calendar year, that is when I could visually see the results. And that's when I took off from a recruiting perspective. I've never really viewed myself in that role, but I've been very quiet. And I'm committing to everyone on this call, like, no longer. I know the lives that we are impacting and what we've built, and we're going to change the way real estate teams are built. And I believe this is the future for how we can scale and protect our businesses, because the small team that we're in conversation with, that's not our competition. That we should be in collaboration in order to protect our industry, because our competition is the big tech companies. And so you can tell I'm super passionate about this. So I'm going to stop right there. And
I just want to give you kudos for you perfected the recipe before I like that you held off.
Yeah, you waited for POC.
Gave it a year, and now, like, with the recipe like perfected, now you can essentially enjoy, telling the world about it, because it's a proven model. You've got a case study. It's a proof of concept.
I mean, you really proved the concept for all of us, so thank you, like, for sharing it, because, you could have been a little secret agent there. We wouldn't have known, but we now, the collective group of all of us watching, can say, okay, this is, we've had 12 months of a P&L, and we've proved the concept. I do want to roll into something you said earlier that I'd be remiss to not kind of close out our time together with, because this is a huge topic, especially with the market shift, and that is legacy agents. There are a lot of really big books of business out there, and I have been preaching on the mountaintops about how I think teams are the best way for someone to come in, cherry pick what they want to cherry pick, and start gradually farming off their book of business and go off into the sunset. I think it's way better than selling your business. But I wanted to find out what you're doing, and because you had mentioned it, what that looks like.
Yeah, and this could be a whole call.
Maybe we need to make it a whole call.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the 3 of us. Maybe we just.
This I am so passionate about, because I remember, and everything comes back to our failures, and we learn the most from our failures, not our wins. And I remember sitting in a real estate office, and this was at the peak of my busyness, right? When we wear busy as a badge of honor. And I was there one night, and this woman came in, she was in her 70s. And she asked me how to write a contract on an electronic form, like she didn't know. And I was sitting there with her while writing, at the time, it was like a $2 million deal. I think my average price point was 200,000. I'm like, what's wrong here? But she, I asked her, I said, what keeps you motivated to keep doing this? And she told me, and it almost brings me to tears, but she said, I have to. I don't have any other choice. And so that moment was like the first seed that was planted of why our industry is broken. We don't have exit strategies. We aren't taught. We aren't taught how to preserve our businesses. And so when my old coach asked me the question, and this is why you put powerful people around you, because they ask you the questions that you're not able to ask yourself. But he asked me, if you needed to double your business in the next year, what would you do? And I sat with that question for a while. And that is where the concept for me, this was 5 years ago, of a legacy partner emerged from. And I believe that there's two avatars for this concept, which, high level picture. A legacy partner is someone that has exited the business or is wanting to exit, but does not have a way to continue to earn without giving their time. And so what we wanted to build, this is either someone in retirement or someone that changes job careers. Like, how many people have built a business and end up moving cities or changing job careers or go to build another business? We have 3 legacy partners in our world. And so our teams are built for this. We know how to protect databases. If we don't, we're in the process of building a moat around those. But we can do the same thing for the legacy partners. Get them brought into our world. The key is to not let the knowledge of being out of production out to the public. Like, I haven't been in production for 7 years. Do you think I announced to all of my people, I'm officially no longer working in real estate and selling homes, so call someone else? Like, why do we announce it? It's the craziest thing in the world to me. So we, just like I've been doing for the last 7 years, when I get a referral, I introduce my partner. And so what we've built are standards and expectations for communication, and in that role, and our goal is a year. And now and I know we're almost done, but I'll give you the example. There was a woman, she's in her 70s, Judy Brown. You all know her. A lot of people know her. She's incredible. She has been in business for 30 plus years.
We all know Judy Brown.
Yeah. Who doesn't? She's amazing. She left the industry and retired, gave her database to another team that set them up on a newsletter, and it was done, right? In 18 months, she had 1 referral that was paid out, okay? Now, fast forward, we moved her into our world. We have built those lines of communication. We now drop slide dials. We invite them to events. We do everything that we do with our normal database. And it took her about 90 days to reactivate these people. We're doing it at an okay level right now. We're building in what that system looks like, because they have to believe she's still in the business of real estate. But since she's been with us, she's referred our team over almost $6 million worth of referrals for one person. And we're doing it mediocre right now. So how we can take this and scale it, and each one of our businesses can build armies of legacy partners where it is a win-win. We protect these databases. They feed all of the agents that are continuing to grow. And it builds a retirement plan that honestly they freaking deserve. So
how do you pay Judy Brown's?
25% referral. We take care of everything for her. She shows up at the client appreciation events when she's not traveling with the love of her life. And, and she's having fun. She gets to be a part of something that's bigger than just her as a solo agent. And there are so many Judys out there that will not be going through the next few years of the market. It's going to be harder. And they deserve the ability to be paid on the time that they've put in. We just got to show them how to protect it.
Does Judy Brown have one agent who kind of covers her database that, they have a tight relationship, or is it just kind of, placed with whoever needs to be placed with?
Yeah, Judy gets to choose, right? And I always say, just as we share out lead, like you have to match people, you have to match with personalities. And the old model of the golden, the golden handoff, or that, I can't remember what the book is.
That's what it's called, I think. Yeah.
The problem with that model is that you have all of your eggs in one basket. So if that agent no longer is in the business, you now have lost your ability to earn. And so why this works for our teams is that person they own their database. It's owned by them, and they get to choose how it's referred. They match it. And
Judy involved in the conversion of those. So in other words, if a lead comes in through a newsletter or something, is Judy kind of the one saying, hi, Fred, this is great. Looking forward to working with you. I'm going to send my team member, Tina.
A lot of them still come into Judy. We're working right now on figuring out how can we offload that, because eventually Judy's not going to want to be answering those calls, or when a lead comes in, how can we nurture that? So that's like phase 2, okay. But I love where that thought process is at, because inevitably.
And if you guys like this topic, drop it in the comments that we should do a follow-on legacy businesses, because
I think I want to do
a whole webinar on this.
There's a couple agents that are really doing what you're doing well. So I love that.
Awesome. I love it.
Perfect. Sarah, any last comments just in the last minute? Just how would you close us out? It was a great session. I know we could have kept talking for ages, but thank you so much. And what would you kind of end with in terms of parting words?
Yeah, I would say this, that along with my advice of don't take advice from anyone that you wouldn't trade a life with. Go out and find who you want to build relationships with them, and make sure that their profitability and their balance and their life, you're all in alignment. When you have that and you have those key relationships, then it makes it easier, right, to make decisions today on how you're going to build, and it will save you a lot of time. So I just appreciate this community, and I appreciate all of the people that have helped us get to where we're at today. It would look a lot different if we were doing it on our own. So there's power in partnership, and talent likes to go fast. So I appreciate this group. Thank you guys for giving me the time and the space to share. And I'm always happy to help in any way I can, for anyone that gets a scenario or, comes up and has additional questions. But keep an eye out. I'll be doing a follow-up call at some point on more granular items.
Yeah, and let's do this. Let's say if you want more information on the opportunity model and the economic model of this, why don't you email us at powerplaybooks@place.com, and I think we'll assess interest, and then maybe we'll do a follow-up just on that too. So a couple of follow-ups, maybe. So powerplaybooks@place.com. Let us know if you want more granular, detail on this. So thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.